have just a couple of questions, and they're all around our theme of no limits. The first is, what's one thing that's been a limit for you, and how did you overcome it?
Oh, one thing. I have ADHD, so I have many things. Being consistent, staying on track, remembering to do my delivery, remembering to order the order, you know? I always forget things all the time, and I just need to remember that what brought me here is my passion and my personality, and that I just need to keep loving what I do, and then just give them extra goodies in the order, and then they're not so mad that I forgot to place their order. And they're like, oh, I think I love you. It's like, oh, I write that in a thank you card, you know, I love you. And so it's just, I gotta shine my personality through.
Awesome.
Was that the question you asked me?
You answered that brilliantly. Thank you. Thank you. Carla, same question for you.
Okay, so I have anxiety. I have anxiety in groups of people. I have anxiety doing this. I don't have an X personality. So I had to do things different in my business. I had to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the way Mel explained it was the perfect way that I have done it for the last almost 10 years. And I always explained it as a light switch in my brain. Until Mel Robbins wrote that book, then I was like, oh my goodness, that is exactly what I did. And so I did have that light switch in my brain that I was able to switch on when I needed to, and be able to kind of put systems in my business that I made myself follow consistently.
Love that. Thank you. Debbie, you're up.
I am a mother of 2, grandmother of 2, caregiver of 3 with a full-time job. My son had a brain tumor. My nephew is suicidal. My brother had a stroke. My stepfather passed away. I've had my nephew since he was age 9. My sister passed away. So there are challenges that I face on a regular basis. But this business has totally been a blessing to me. I thank God for my Cincy family. I thank God for my Cincy customers. This business has totally been a blessing.
Thank you, Debbie. Jen, how about you? What's your no limits story?
So 2 of my biggest limits have always been time and guilt. So time, because I had a full-time job, I had 2 children who were involved in everything you can imagine. I had a second job on the weekends, and there was no time for me to do 10 home parties in a month or to do any of the things that I needed to do. And then the guilt, because I was so busy, by doing something else, I was taking away from my family. So the guilt was terrible. But I actually had a huge dream. When I joined Cincy, my kids were 5 and 8. And I was a dental hygienist, and I was stuck in an operatory all day long, every day. And I had a dream of seeing my children get on and off of a school bus. As silly as that sounds, that was such a dream for me, because friends would text me and say, hey Jen, you know, your kids are at our house and we made cookies, and take pictures for me. And as happy as that made me feel, I wanted that so bad. So I took my excuses of not having time and having so much guilt, and they gave me drive, they gave me a reason to work so hard, so that as my kids got older, now I'm there for every single little thing that they do.
Thank you.
So one of the limits that I have experienced is the stigma that this type of business isn't real. I have had my Cincy business, I've owned my Cincy business for 11 years, and still to this day my parents will ask me on occasion if I think Cincy's run its course, whatever that means. But it's as if to say that what I do isn't serious enough, or it's not professional enough, or it's not worthy enough. I simultaneously have worked a job behind a desk as an office manager for 17 years with capped wages and maxed out growth potential. And that job let me go in February due to a merger. And not once did my parents in 17 years ask me if I thought that job had run its course. Nothing in life is certain or guaranteed, but we do have the ways and the opportunities ahead of us and in front of us to secure our paths. How many of you have made $1 with Scentsy? How many of you have made one friend with Scentsy? How many of you have overcome one limit with Scentsy? This business is very real, and it's more than just a business.
Thanks, Melissa. Tracy, Joe, I know we have a twofer here, so how about we divide it? One of you take this one, and one of you will take the next question.
Perfect. Okay, well, for us, in our journey, we have faced just continual limits, lots and lots of things that could be limits. The one that we deal with on a daily basis is having children with disabilities. Almost daily, we deal with the physical, emotional, and financial stresses of having children with disabilities in our home. Those are real. They're not going to go away. And the reality is we can choose to live with those no limits and to have that life, or I could use my Scentsy business consistently to find a way to make all of those things better. And we have always made that choice. When I go and I get to deliver a Scentsy order to a customer who's waiting on the porch for me, I can't tell you what that does for me emotionally and how that fills up. It doesn't matter how many hours of sleep I had or didn't have in many cases the night before. When I'm at an event and people are running to my booth because they can't wait to find the Scentsy lady and they finally found me, what that does for me is not about the money. It's not about anything other than filling me up in a mental health way that I can't get outside of Scentsy. Financially, obviously, if I work this business consistently, then that too will be blessed as a blessing and will help us get through. It's real, the business is real, you're gonna face limits, you're gonna have things that are gonna come your way. It's constant. As long as we're breathing, they're going to exist. It's how you choose to live that life, and I hope it will be the no limit life.
Thank you, Tracy. Joe, hang on to that. Hang on to that. Coming to you next, and then we'll work our way back down this way. The final question that I'd love to touch on is, what's your best advice as a Shining Star nominee for overcoming limits and being unstoppable?
That's a great question. So you're at this great event, and so what I can recommend is to surround yourself with people that have achieved goals in their business that you want to achieve. Okay? Seek those people out while you're here and connect with them. Okay? Take what knowledge they have and experiences that they have and bless yourself. The best gift that you can give yourself while at these awesome Scentsy events is to connect with those people, share with those people, and that way you're able to,
Take that information.
Yeah, so take that information back home and implement it into your business. So seek those consultants out and leaders that actually have no limits.
Thank you, Joe. That's great. Melissa, advice.
So the best advice for overcoming limits is to be yourself. This chair was a limit for me. I actually was more anxious about coming up here and sitting in this chair than I was holding the microphone and speaking in front of you. Because this limits me. This isn't me. And so we have to be ourselves to be successful. We can be unstoppable. There's nothing that stands in our way. This chair was not going to be what stood in my way today from delivering my message to you and to giving you the advice that you need to hear. And if I can give you any advice at all, especially with Scentsy business, and this goes, especially with your Scentsy business, this goes for life as well. Never be the smartest or the best in any room you're in. Never.
You're taking us to school. I love this. I love this, Jen.
So I hear, again, I'm going to go back to the time and the guilt, and I hear all the time that, oh, I don't have time to do this. And so the bottom line is we all know that you can make time. If you really want something, if you really want to change your circumstances, you can make time. So the guilt is the part that ate at me, and that was so difficult. And I'm sure that so many of you are with me, especially moms, because you feel so guilty about leaving your children, or you feel guilty about missing something small when you don't, you have no choice. So for me, I realized that part of my guilt was fear of what other people thought of me as a mom. So when I realized, I had to decide, you know what, who cares what everybody else thinks? I care about what my family thinks. So we sat down as a family, and I explained to them, my kids and my husband, and I said, listen, I know it's crazy, I know I don't have time to do this, but I am going to we're going to change our circumstances, and I can't do it alone. I need your help. So we worked together as a family, and I stopped worrying about what everybody thought about me, if I was missing, or if I was, at another Sensi event, or if I was doing home parties somewhere, or wherever I was. And my kids were proud, and that is the only thing I worried about, is what my kids thought and what my husband thought. And they were there for me always, and that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Debbie, what's your advice?
Well, most people know that I share my story. That's the most powerful thing you can ever share. It doesn't matter how big you feel that it is or how small, but everybody has a story. I tell my new team members, well, they'll say, I don't have a story. Yes, you do. Why don't you join Sensi? Share that. Whatever it is, you share that. Whatever you're going through, you share that. And I do this all the time. Each time when I work at events, a lot of people ask, how do you get people to sign up at events? Well, I share my story. On the spot, share my story. People connect with that. So whatever it is that you're going through, you share that. You never know who you're going to impact. So that's the best advice I can offer. Now, Sensi is a blessing, it's not a burden. So if you're going through something, don't put your kid down. You pick that kid up. That is a blessing. You need that in your life right there. That is going to help you with the financial stability that you need.
Thank you. Thanks. Carla, how about you?
Okay, so something that I have done from the very beginning is just practice. How many people in this room have anxiety? And usually when I come into a room, it is 50% of the room that have anxiety, or have a difficult time talking to people, or who have a difficult time doing anything with their business because they just don't want to talk to people. I have practiced for the past 10 years, almost 10 years, to be on the stage today. I have written scripts over and over and over again in my business. And if you are a brand new consultant, you have anxiety, you have no idea what to say or what to do, you write yourself some scripts and you read them. And you practice them, and you practice them over and over and over and over again, because that is what I did, and I was able to get myself off every single script that I had wrote. So that is where you have to start, is right there. You all can be where I am. I am successful because I decided that I can be.
Thank you. Bring it home, Anna.
I realize that we're all alike and we all want the same things in life, and I'm a total hot mess. And I realize that most people are a hot mess. And when I started sharing that my struggles, and I started sharing, I realized how we all have something in common. And a lot of people think that their limits are something that stops them, but it's actually a blessing, and there's a silver lining. And when you share your limitations and your struggle, it's actually inspiring to the world, because everyone is kind of going through that. And when you open yourself up and you're vulnerable, people are like, whoa, she's doing that even though she's going through that and she's terrified. That's really inspiring, and people are watching you all the time. So my advice is, own your hot mess. Own your struggles, own your limits, because you will inspire your family, you're inspiring your everyone around you. So that's that, yeah.
I'm going to let you hang on to that and take that back out. I love that you use the word inspiring, because you have all been an inspiration to all of us this morning.